Yeah, I'm Sebastian. Talk about Icechunk. What is Icechunk? If you go to its webpage in icechunk.io, you will see that it's an open source, cloud native, transactional tensor storage engine, which is a bit of a mouthful. So let's try to unpack that. What it does is basically it's a RAS library to store very large binary arrays in the cloud, like things like S3 or GCS or any other type of cloud storage. Here we are seeing an example. This is a subset of weather forecast data set, IFS, one of the most used forecasts from ECMWF. This is a 3.5 terabyte data set. And we can see it's a bunch of arrays in 4 dimensions, latitude, longitude, time, and step. Step is how much the forecast is going ahead. And basically, this is the type of data that this library allows you to store. We can see, for example, in this particular data set, we have like 15 different variables. These are the way people like to name these variables. This is like the 2-meter temperature, 2 meter above the surface, 2-meter dew point, and wind directions and things like that. Each one of these arrays is like 233 gigabytes. And as we can see here, like they all have 4 dimensions, but this is a particular case. We can generally can have any number of dimensions, and different arrays can have different numbers of dimensions and coordinates. So we also say that it's an open source library, and we all know what that means. It's Apache 2 license, so it's useful for free, like non-commercial and commercial usage. We started the library in October of 24, like that's the first release of the library, and we declared the library and the on this format stable in exactly 1 year ago, in July 10, 2025, which is pretty random. We are seeing good adoption, and it's fully open source. There are no hidden features or commercial features. The whole thing is in GitHub. You can go and contribute. It's not only our open source library, but it's also an open source format and specification. If you go to the webpage, you will find all the details of how we store the data, how we split the data, how we store it in S3. And so there can be potentially multiple implementations of Icechunk. As of my knowledge, as of today, I think we are the only right implementation, but there are several read-only implementations. In particular, there is one. There are a couple that are in JavaScript, so Icechunk can be used from the browser. And interestingly, there is one in GDAL, which is a library that many people use in the scientific community. So like you can read Icechunk repositories from your GDAL toolset. We say that Icechunk is cloud native, and the reason why we say that is usually today, like most of the scientific data for these large scale data sets is stored like in files and in formats that usually predate the cloud, and basically like a big chunk, big files on S3 or something like that, which is non-optimal. And Icechunk was designed from the ground up to store its data in the cloud. It still supports local file systems and in-memory file, but it's meant and optimized for object storage like S3, and it can handle all the S3 compatible data stores. The way it operates is instead of saving these big arrays in single files or in very large files, it splits the data and the metadata in small chunks. So you can, when you read or write small parts of the data sets, which is usually the case, you don't have to download huge files and upload huge files when you make a change. So it makes things much more optimal. This is an example of the type of files that Icechunk generates in storage. We say that Icechunk is transactional basically because it behaves like an embedded database. It's a library that can embed in your system, and it brings the functionality of a database. What that means is that it provides transactions, what is called ACID transactions, and this allows you to have multiple processes, potentially hundreds or thousands of users at the same time interacting with the same data. As they are doing writes and reads, they don't interfere with each other. So for example, this is an example of how you do a write to Icechunk. You create sessions, you write stuff, but that stuff you write is not visible to others until you make a commit. And when you make a commit, the visibility is atomic, so nobody ever sees partial updates. Only at the end of your update, like, people will be able to see your changes. It also supports time travel and full histories. You can keep previous histories of your data, previous history of your data sets. You can send people to see previous versions of your data. It supports branches and tags the way Git does. So you can point people to a specific tag or branch. You can create your own branches to try new things in your data without destroying the data. So this is kind of Git behavior for very large data sets. The data model for Icechunk is based on a very well-known format, netcdf, and basically it's just a hierarchy of folders that are called groups and arrays. A single repository can have any number of arrays over any number of dimensions. The arrays can have different data types, and they are basically they can be of undetermined size. And every group or directory and an array can have metadata. So you can add extra information in the form of a dictionary of attributes to provide extra information about your data. Quickly check some sample code of how you use Icechunk. Icechunk has a Rust API and a Python API, so you can use it from both languages, and currently from JavaScript too. This is a quick example. You first identify where you want to store your data. In this case, we are using S3 on a given bucket. Then you create or open your repository here with the defaults. And then you create a session, can be a write session or a read session. Once you have the session, you can use different libraries to write your actual data to Icechunk. In this case, we are using a library called SARS, which we haven't built, is existing. And you basically, in here, what we are doing as an example, we are creating an array at the temperature path. It's a two-dimensional array of floating 32s. We write that array here. Actually, we write to a small corner of that array of 128 by 128. And after we have done that write, we make a commit. And only at this point, this data is going to be visible to other processes that are concurrently reading the data set. When we are done, we can, for example, create a tag pointing to the version that we just created, and we can give that tag to people to access the data. Here is an example of how people would access the data. We create a read-only session pointing to that tag, and basically they just identify the path they want to read. And in here we are using an example where we're computing the mean of that array. This array can potentially be very, very large. Why you may want to try Icechunk. The things that we feel people take most value from is this ability to think in terms of isolated transactions. That enables a whole new way to interact with your data, because you're no longer afraid of breaking your data for users or other scientists. So basically, you can create a branch, try things, update data. You will only be updating the small portions of the data that you are working on, and everything is invisible unless you want to commit it. And even if you commit it, like, previous versions still stay available, and you can point people to different branches and different tags so they can access the parts of the data that you want them to access. Other reason is that it's production ready. It's getting a lot of use. Our company uses as its main database for all customer data. We have a lot of tests. In particular, we have a very, very thorough, like, stateful and property tests, which are pretty cool. Here are a few blog posts you can check out about the cool things that we are doing to test this library. It's pretty interesting. Other reason to use Icechunk is it's very space efficient. So when you create these very large binary arrays, you want compression, and Icechunk allows you to use a variety of codecs to get the best compression possible. It also we say that it keeps track of history, but it only writes the differences between the versions, so you don't duplicate the whole data for every version. There is no data duplication, and there is a whole new different way to store your data that it would be too large too big to go into. But basically, you can also, if you have your data already in other well-known formats, and you don't want to duplicate that data to write it in Icechunk, you can make Icechunk point to the existing data in other formats and still gain all the ACID transactions and history tracking and all that without having to duplicate your data. Also, Icechunk is very fast. We built it and designed it as to be the fastest way to access this binary data in arrays, and it consistently can saturate the network cards that you're using at any size. And since there are no services, there are no servers, you just talk to your object store directly, so it scales with the power of your object store, so you can have hundreds or thousands of machines reading from the same data set, so you can really saturate many network interfaces. Finally, like the adoption of Icechunk is getting very good adoption. It's only been stable for a year, but we already see some of the largest public sector organizations using it for some of their data, like NOAA, NASA, and ARIA. Several geological offices across the world. We also have a whole marketplace of data in Icechunk format at our company EarthMover. A lot of that data is free. You can go and download it in Icechunk format and access it, query it for free, and some other data is you can purchase. That we see a lot of companies on the Earth observation, climate, weather, and finance sectors starting to put their data in Icechunk. Also in biology for genomics and microscopy, and there is probably a lot more out there that we don't know about. So like my invitation here is, if you have a big array data that you want to store in the cloud and have multiple people interacting with it, and you want to make it safely and fast, you can go ahead and check out Icechunk. You can go to icechunk.io. You can join our Slack community or write issues if you need any help. Thank you very much.